Ryan, Serafina, and Xenia greeted Koran in the estate's grand entrance hall, their expressions calm but cautious. They had heard of the syndicate and its tactics, and they knew that this visit could be the prelude to something much more dangerous. "Welcome to our estate," Serafina said, her tone polite but firm. "We are honored by your visit, Koran of the syndicate. How may we assist you?" Koran removed his mask, revealing a sharp, angular face with piercing blue eyes that seemed to miss nothing. He inclined his head slightly, a gesture that could have been interpreted as either respect or condescension. "Thank you for your hospitality, Lady Serafina. I come on behalf of the syndicate to discuss a matter of mutual interest." Ryan exchanged a glance with Serafina and Xenia, sensing the tension in the air. "And what matter would that be?" he asked, his voice steady. Koran smiled, though there was no warmth in it. "The syndicate has been observing your efforts to restore this estate and to rebuild the legacy of Zorath. We are impressed by what you have accomplished, and we believe that there is an opportunity here for a beneficial partnership." Serafina arched an eyebrow, her expression skeptical. "A partnership?" "Yes," Koran replied smoothly. "The syndicate has resources, wealth, technology, and military strength that could be of great use to you in your endeavors. In exchange, we would ask for your cooperation in certain matters, as well as access to some of the knowledge and artifacts you have uncovered." Ryan felt a surge of anger at the suggestion. It was clear that the syndicate was trying to use their power to coerce them into an alliance, one that would likely come at a great cost to their autonomy and their legacy. But he kept his emotions in check, knowing that this was a delicate situation that required careful handling. "We appreciate your offer," Xenia said diplomatically, her tone measured, "but our primary concern is the preservation of our people's legacy and the protection of our estate. Any partnership would have to align with those goals." Koran's smile faded slightly, replaced by a more serious expression. "Of course. The syndicate has no interest in undermining your legacy. On the contrary, we wish to see it thrive. But we also recognize that the galaxy is a dangerous place. And it is only through cooperation and mutual support that we can ensure the safety and prosperity of our respective interests." There was a pause as Koran's words hung in the air, the implication clear. The syndicate was offering protection, but it was also issuing a veiled threat: either join them and benefit from their resources, or risk becoming their enemy. Ryan's mind raced as he considered their options. They couldn't afford to antagonize the syndicate, not when they were still in the process of rebuilding and securing their position. But neither could they allow themselves to be manipulated into an alliance that would compromise their independence. "We will consider your offer," Ryan said finally, his tone neutral. "But we will need time to discuss it among ourselves and to consult with our advisors. This is not a decision we can make lightly." Koran inclined his head again, though this time there was a hint of impatience in his eyes. "Very well. I trust that you will see the wisdom in our proposal. The syndicate is willing to be a valuable ally, but we expect loyalty in return." With that, Koran and his retinue took their leave, their departure as swift and silent as their arrival. As the sound of their ship's engines faded into the distance, Ryan, Serafina, and Xenia exchanged troubled looks. "This isn't good," Xenia said, her voice filled with concern. "The syndicate is dangerous, and they won't take no for an answer. We need to be very careful about how we handle this." "I agree," Serafina added, her expression tense. "But we can't let them bully us into submission. We have to find a way to protect our interests without compromising our independence." Ryan nodded, his mind already working through the possibilities. "We need to strengthen our alliances with other factions and planets. The more support we have, the less vulnerable we'll be to the syndicate's pressure." They spent the next several days in intense discussions, both among themselves and with their advisors and allies. Ryan reached out to the contacts he had made during the war, seeking to build a network of support that could stand against the syndicate's influence. Xenia continued her diplomatic efforts, reaching out to leaders of neighboring planets and systems, while Serafina focused on using the knowledge they had uncovered from the vaults to bolster their technological and strategic capabilities. It was a delicate balancing act, one that required careful negotiation and a clear understanding of their own strengths and weaknesses. But as they worked together, Ryan, Serafina, and Xenia began to see a way forward, a strategy that would allow them to protect their legacy while avoiding direct conflict with the syndicate. The key to their plan was an alliance with a powerful and respected leader, Lord Eric of the planet Meridia. Meridia was a wealthy and influential world, known for its advanced technology and strong military. Lord Eric was a seasoned leader, known for his wisdom and strategic acumen, and he had a deep respect for the traditions and legacies of other cultures. Ryan, Serafina, and Xenia traveled to Meridia to meet with Lord Eric, hoping to secure his support in their efforts to resist the Syndicate's pressure. The journey was long and the stakes were high, but they knew that this alliance could be the key to their success. When they arrived on Meridia, they were greeted with great respect and hospitality. Lord Eric welcomed them into his grand palace, a towering structure of glass and steel that overlooked the planet's capital city. The palace was filled with art and artifacts from across the galaxy, a testament to Meridia's wealth and cultural influence. Lord Eric himself was an imposing figure, tall and broad-shouldered, with a thick mane of silver hair and piercing green eyes. He was dressed in a regal robe of deep red, adorned with gold embroidery and the insignia of his house. Despite his imposing appearance, there was a warmth in his demeanor, a kindness that put them at ease. "Welcome to Meridia," Lord Eric said as he greeted them in the palace's grand hall. "I've heard much about your efforts to restore the legacy of Zorath. It's an honor to finally meet you in person." "The honor is ours," Lord Eric Serafina replied, her tone respectful. "We've come to seek your counsel and your support. The Syndicate has approached us with an offer of alliance, but we are concerned about the implications of such a partnership. We believe that with your support, we can resist their pressure and protect our independence." Lord Eric nodded thoughtfully, his expression serious. "The Syndicate is a powerful force, but they are also ambitious and ruthless. They seek to expand their influence by any means necessary, and they are not above using coercion and intimidation to achieve their goals. You are wise to be cautious." "We want to protect our people and our legacy," Ryan added, his voice firm. "But we also know that we can't do it alone. We need allies, people we can trust, who share our values and our commitment to preserving the past while building a better future." Lord Eric smiled, his green eyes twinkling with a mixture of admiration and approval. "You speak with conviction, Ryan. I can see why Serafina and Xenia have chosen to stand by your side. I believe that our two houses can be strong allies, united by our shared goals and values." He paused for a moment, considering his next words carefully. "However, any alliance must be based on trust and mutual benefit. I would like to propose a formal pact between our houses, one that would bind us together in both friendship and obligation. In return for my support, I would ask that we share resources, technology, and intelligence, and that we stand together in times of need." Ryan, Serafina, and Xenia exchanged glances, each of them recognizing the significance of the offer. This was not just a strategic alliance, it was a commitment, one that would require them to share not only their strengths but also their vulnerabilities. "We accept your proposal," Lord Eric Serafina said, her voice filled with resolve. "We believe that together we can achieve great things and protect our people from those who would seek to exploit or harm them." Lord Eric smiled, his expression filled with satisfaction. "Then it is settled. Our houses are now united in purpose and in strength. Let us work together to ensure a bright future for our people and our legacies." The pact was formalized in a grand ceremony, attended by leaders and representatives from across Meridia and the surrounding planets. It was a momentous occasion, one that solidified their alliance and sent a clear message to the Syndicate and any others who might seek to challenge their authority. With the alliance in place, Ryan, Serafina, and Xenia returned to Viridian with a renewed sense of confidence and determination. They had secured the support of one of the galaxy's most powerful leaders, and with it, the resources and backing they needed to protect their estate and their people. But the challenges were far from over. The Syndicate, aware of the new alliance, responded with increased pressure and subtle threats. There were reports of Syndicate agents operating in the nearby systems, spreading rumors and attempting to undermine the alliance's credibility. There were also whispers of mercenaries and assassins being hired to target key figures within their ranks. Ryan knew that they needed to stay vigilant, to anticipate the Syndicate's moves and counter them with strategic precision. He worked closely with Lord Eric's intelligence network, gathering information and staying one step ahead of their enemies. He also continued to strengthen the estate's defenses, deploying advanced surveillance systems and training the estate's security forces to be ready for any threat. Serafina and Xenia also played their parts, using their diplomatic skills to maintain and expand their network of allies. They traveled frequently, meeting with leaders and representatives from across the galaxy, ensuring that their alliance remained strong and that their people were well supported. Despite the constant pressure, the bond between Ryan, Serafina, and Xenia only grew stronger. They had become a formidable team, each of them contributing their unique strengths and perspectives to the challenges they faced. They were not only partners in their mission, they were partners in life, united by a deep love and respect for each other. One evening, as they sat together on the balcony of the mansion, looking out over the moonlit gardens, Xenia turned to Ryan with a thoughtful expression. "You know, Ryan," she said, her voice soft and contemplative, "I never imagined that our lives would take this path. We've been through so much, faced so many challenges, but I feel like we're stronger for it. I can't imagine doing this with anyone else." Ryan smiled, his heart filled with warmth at her words. "I feel the same way, Xenia. We've built something incredible here, something that's worth fighting for, worth protecting. I'm proud of what we've accomplished, and I'm even prouder to stand by your side." Serafina, who had been gazing out at the stars, turned to them with a serene smile. "Our journey is far from over, but I have no doubt that we'll continue to face whatever comes our way with the same strength and determination that has brought us this far. We are guardians of a legacy, and together we will ensure that it endures." As they sat together, the night filled with the sound of the wind rustling through the trees and the distant hum of the estate's systems, Ryan felt a deep sense of contentment and fulfillment. They had come so far, overcome so many obstacles, and now they were stronger than ever. The future was still uncertain, and there would undoubtedly be more challenges to face, but they were ready. Together they would protect their legacy, build a future for their people, and leave a mark on the galaxy that would be remembered for generations to come. And as the first light of dawn began to break over the horizon, casting a golden glow over the estate, Ryan knew that this was only the beginning. They were guardians of a legacy, and their journey was far from over. The first rays of dawn touched the estate, casting long shadows across the tranquil landscape. The estate's grandeur, once hidden by the cloak of night, now stood revealed in all its restored glory. The gardens were lush and vibrant, the walls strong and unyielding, and the mansion itself was a beacon of hope and history, a testament to the resilience of its people. But within this peaceful facade lay a sense of unease, a quiet tension that hummed beneath the surface, for the guardians of this legacy knew that the true test of their strength was yet to come. Ryan stood on the balcony of the mansion, his gaze sweeping over the estate. The air was cool, filled with the scent of blooming flowers and the distant chirping of birds. It was a morning like any other, yet he couldn't shake the feeling that today would bring something different, something that would challenge everything they had worked so hard to build. As he descended the stairs and made his way through the mansion's grand halls, Ryan couldn't help but reflect on how far they had come. The estate, once teetering on the brink of ruin, was now a fortress, its walls fortified, its systems restored, and its people united. The alliance with Lord Eric of Meridia had brought them the resources and support they needed to stand strong against the Syndicate's threats. But with strength came responsibility, and with responsibility came the constant vigilance that Ryan had grown so accustomed to. He found Serafina and Xenia in the library, where they often began their mornings. The room was filled with the soft glow of morning light filtering through the large windows, casting a warm hue over the rows of ancient texts and scrolls. The two sisters were seated at a large table, their heads bent over a collection of documents and data pads, their expressions focused and determined. Morning Ryan greeted them, his voice soft as he approached. "Any updates?" Serafina looked up, offering him a small smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. "Morning, Ryan. We were just going over the latest reports from our allies. There's been increased activity from the Syndicate in the neighboring systems, rumors of mercenary groups being hired, and some of our trade routes have been disrupted." Xenia sighed, leaning back in her chair as she ran a hand through her hair. "They're testing us, seeing how far they can push before we push back. They're trying to destabilize us, make us look weak in front of our allies." Ryan nodded, his expression serious. "They're trying to create cracks in our defenses, both literal and figurative. We can't let them succeed. We need to show them that we're not just standing our ground, we're ready to take the fight to them if necessary." Serafina's gaze sharpened as she studied the datapads in front of her. "I've been thinking the same thing. We've been on the defensive for too long. It's time to show the Syndicate that we're not just a passive force, that we're capable of striking back." Xenia nodded in agreement, her eyes filled with determination. "We need to send a message, one that makes it clear that we won't tolerate their attempts to undermine us. But we also need to be strategic about it. We can't afford to act recklessly." Ryan's mind raced as he considered their options. The Syndicate was a powerful and ruthless organization, but they were also opportunistic. If they saw an opening, they would exploit it without hesitation. But if they were faced with a united and formidable force, they might think twice before escalating their efforts. "We need to gather more intelligence," Ryan said after a moment of thought. "We need to know exactly what the Syndicate is planning and where their forces are concentrated. If we can identify their weaknesses, we can strike where it hurts the most and disrupt their operations." Serafina nodded, her fingers tapping lightly on the table as she considered his words. "I'll reach out to our contacts within the intelligence network. We've built some strong relationships over the past few months. Let's see if we can leverage them to get the information we need." "And I'll work on rallying our allies," Xenia added. "If the Syndicate thinks they can isolate us, they're wrong. We need to show them that we're not alone, that we have the support of powerful allies who are ready to stand with us." Ryan smiled, feeling a surge of pride in his partners. They had come so far, grown so much, and together they were a force to be reckoned with. "Good. Let's get to work. The sooner we have a clear plan, the sooner we can act." They spent the next few days in a flurry of activity, each of them focused on their respective tasks. Serafina coordinated with their intelligence contacts, gathering as much information as possible about the Syndicate's movements and intentions. She analyzed reports, intercepted communications, and worked closely with their allies to piece together a comprehensive picture of the Syndicate's operations. Xenia, meanwhile, reached out to the leaders of their allied planets and factions, rallying support and ensuring that their alliances remained strong. She traveled frequently, meeting with diplomats and representatives, solidifying their network of allies, and making sure that everyone was on the same page. Her charm and diplomatic skills were invaluable, and she quickly gained the trust and respect of those she met. Ryan, for his part, focused on preparing their forces for the possibility of conflict. He worked closely with the estate's security teams, overseeing training exercises and drills, and ensuring that their defenses were in top shape. He also coordinated with Lord Eric's military advisors, discussing potential strategies and contingencies should the situation escalate. Despite the intensity of their work, there was a sense of unity and purpose that kept them going. They were not just reacting to the Syndicate's threats, they were taking proactive steps to protect their people and their legacy. And as they worked together, their bond only grew stronger, their trust in each other deepening with every challenge they faced. One evening, as they sat together in the library, reviewing the latest intelligence reports, Serafina's expression suddenly sharpened. "Ryan, look at this," she said, sliding a datapad across the table to him. Ryan took the datapad and quickly scanned the contents. It was an intercepted communication from within the Syndicate, detailing plans for a major operation in one of the neighboring systems. The message was coded, but Serafina had already deciphered it, revealing the Syndicate's intention to seize control of a key trade hub that was vital to their alliance's supply lines. "This is it," Ryan said, his voice filled with urgency. "They're planning a major move, one that could cripple our trade routes and cut us off from our allies. We need to act fast." Xenia frowned, her eyes narrowing as she considered the implications. "If they take control of that trade hub, it would give them a significant advantage. We can't let that happen." Serafina nodded in agreement, her expression determined. "We need to strike before they can execute their plan. If we can disrupt their operation and take control of the trade hub ourselves, it would be a major blow to the Syndicate's efforts." Ryan's mind raced as he formulated a plan. "We'll need to move quickly and with precision. A full-scale assault could draw too much attention, but a targeted strike by a small, elite team could get the job done without giving them time to react." Xenia's eyes lit up with excitement. "We can do this, Ryan. We've trained for it, and we have the element of surprise on our side." Serafina placed a hand on Ryan's arm, her touch warm and reassuring. "You lead the strike team, Ryan. I'll coordinate the logistics and provide support from here. Xenia and I will make sure that our allies are ready to back us up if things go sideways." Ryan nodded, feeling a sense of resolve settle over him. "All right, let's get everything in place. We move at dawn." The next morning, as the sun began to rise over the horizon, Ryan and his strike team assembled in the estate's hangar. The air was thick with anticipation, the tension palpable as they prepared for the mission. The team was made up of the best and most trusted members of their security forces, each of them handpicked for their skill, loyalty, and experience. Ryan stood before them, dressed in his combat armor, his expression calm and focused. "You all know the mission," he said, his voice steady. We're going to hit the syndicate where it hurts and disrupt their plans before they can carry them out. This is a high-risk operation, but I have full confidence in each and every one of you. We've trained for this and we're ready." The members of the strike team nodded in unison, their faces set with determination. They were a seasoned group, and they understood the stakes. Failure was not an option. Serafina and Xenia were there to see them off, their expressions a mix of pride and concern. Serafina stepped forward, her eyes locking onto Ryan's. "Be careful, Ryan. We need you back here in one piece." Ryan smiled, his heart swelling with affection. "I will, I promise." Xenia grinned, though there was a hint of worry in her eyes. "Give them hell, Ryan, and remember we'll be ready to back you up if you need it." With a final nod, Ryan turned and led his team onto the waiting shuttle. The doors closed behind them, and the shuttle's engines roared to life as it lifted off from the hangar and shot into the sky. The mission had begun. The journey to the trade hub was tense but uneventful. The shuttle's stealth systems allowed them to approach undetected, slipping past the syndicate's patrols and into the heart of their operation. The trade hub itself was a massive structure, a sprawling complex of docks, warehouses, and command centers, all connected by a network of tunnels and passageways. Ryan's team moved with precision and efficiency, navigating the dark corridors and taking out syndicate guards with silent, lethal strikes. Their goal was the central control room, where the syndicate's leaders were coordinating the operation. If they could take control of the command center, they could disable the syndicate's defenses and seize control of the entire hub. The closer they got to their target, the more intense the resistance became. Syndicate soldiers began to swarm the corridors, alerted to the presence of intruders. Ryan's team fought their way through, their movements fluid and coordinated, each member covering the others as they advanced. Finally, they reached the control room, a large, heavily fortified chamber filled with consoles, monitors, and holo displays. The syndicate's officers were there, barking orders and scrambling to respond to the attack. But they were too late. Ryan led the charge, his rifle blazing as he and his team stormed the room. The syndicate officers tried to fight back, but they were outmatched, their defenses overwhelmed by the speed and precision of the strike team. Within minutes, the room was secure, and Ryan was at the main console, taking control of the hub systems. "We've got it," Ryan said, his voice filled with triumph as he activated the hub's lockdown protocols. "The syndicate's forces are cut off, and the hub is under our control." Serafina's voice crackled over the comms, filled with relief and pride. "Well done, Ryan. We're monitoring the situation from here." Xenia is coordinating with our allies. They're ready to move in and secure the surrounding area. Ryan nodded, his mind already working through the next steps. "We need to hold this position until reinforcements arrive. The syndicate's going to throw everything they have at us to try and take it back." Xenia's voice came through the comms, filled with determination. "They can try, but they won't succeed. We've already notified our allies, and they're sending reinforcements. We're not letting the syndicate get away with this." For the next several hours, the strike team held their ground, repelling wave after wave of syndicate soldiers who tried to breach the control room. The fighting was intense, but Ryan's team was well-trained and well-prepared, and they managed to hold the line, keeping the syndicate at bay. Finally, as the sun began to set, the sound of approaching ships filled the air. Ryan's heart lifted as he saw the fleet of Allied ships descending on the trade hub, their weapons trained on the syndicate forces below. The syndicate, realizing that they were outnumbered and outgunned, began to retreat, their ships pulling back as the Allied forces moved in to secure the area. Ryan let out a breath he hadn't realized he'd been holding, his shoulders sagging with relief. "We did it," he said, his voice filled with a mixture of exhaustion and triumph. "The hub is secure." Serafina's voice came through the comms, filled with pride and gratitude. "You did it, Ryan. You stopped the syndicate and protected our people. We couldn't be more proud of you." Xenia's voice was warm with affection. "You're amazing, Ryan. We knew you could do it." Ryan smiled, his heart swelling with emotion. "I couldn't have done it without all of you. This was a team effort, and we've shown the syndicate that we're not to be underestimated." With the trade hub secure and the syndicate in retreat, Ryan and his team returned to the estate, where they were greeted as heroes. The victory was celebrated across the planet, with feasts, music, and dancing that lasted long into the night. It was a moment of triumph, a reminder that they were strong, united, and capable of overcoming any challenge. But as the celebrations continued, Ryan couldn't shake the feeling that this was only the beginning. The syndicate had been dealt a significant blow, but they were not defeated. They would regroup, and they would come back, more determined than ever to take what they wanted. The next morning, as the first light of dawn began to break over the estate, Ryan stood on the balcony of the mansion, looking out over the gardens. The air was cool and still, the sky tinged with the soft colors of the rising sun. It was a peaceful moment, one that reminded him of why they were fighting, of what they were trying to protect. He was joined by Serafina and Xenia, who stood beside him, their expressions thoughtful. They had faced so much together, overcome so many challenges, and yet they knew that their journey was far from over. "The syndicate will be back," Serafina said quietly, her eyes fixed on the horizon. "They won't give up easily." Ryan nodded, his expression serious. "I know, but we'll be ready for them. We've shown them that we're not to be underestimated, and we'll continue to stand strong, no matter what they throw at us." Xenia placed a hand on Ryan's arm, her touch warm and comforting. "We're in this together, Ryan. Whatever comes next, we'll face it as a team, as a family." Ryan smiled, feeling a deep sense of contentment and fulfillment. "We've built something incredible here, something that's worth fighting for. And as long as we stand together, there's nothing we can't overcome." As they stood together, looking out over the estate, the first rays of sunlight touched the mansion, casting a warm glow over the walls and gardens. It was a new day filled with possibilities and challenges, but Ryan knew that they were ready. They were guardians of a legacy, and they would continue to protect and build upon it, no matter what trials lay ahead. And as the sun rose higher in the sky, casting its light over the estate and the world beyond, Ryan knew that they had already achieved something extraordinary. They had faced their enemies, overcome their doubts, and emerged stronger for it. The future was still uncertain, but they were ready to face it together. The days following their victory at the trade hub were marked by a renewed sense of purpose and determination. The estate on Virgin was bustling with activity as they fortified their defenses, strengthened their alliances, and prepared for the inevitable return of the syndicate. The victory had been a significant one, a blow to the syndicate's plans and a testament to the strength and unity of Ryan, Serafina, and Xenia's leadership. But as the initial euphoria of success began to fade, a new and more insidious challenge emerged, one that would test their trust, loyalty, and resolve in ways they had never imagined. It began with whispers, small, seemingly insignificant rumors that began to circulate among their allies and within their own ranks. The rumors were vague and unsubstantiated, but they carried with them a sense of unease, a suggestion that not everything was as it seemed. Some spoke of hidden agendas, of secret dealings between the syndicate and those within their own alliance. Others hinted at betrayals of loyalties that had been bought or coerced. At first, Ryan dismissed these rumors as the inevitable result of their recent success, a natural consequence of their enemies' attempts to sow discord and doubt. But as the whispers grew louder and more persistent, he found himself unable to ignore them. One morning, as Ryan, Serafina, and Xenia sat together in the library, reviewing the latest intelligence reports, Xenia's expression darkened as she read through a particularly troubling report. "Ryan, Serafina, you need to see this," she said, her voice tight with concern. Ryan looked up from the datapad in his hand, his brow furrowing as he saw the seriousness in Xenia's eyes. "What is it?" Xenia slid the report across the table to him, her gaze steady. "There have been reports of strange activity among some of our closest allies. Shipments of supplies have gone missing, communications have been disrupted, and there have been unexplained troop movements near the borders of our territory. It's as if someone is testing our defenses, probing for weaknesses." Serafina leaned in, her eyes scanning the report with a frown. "This doesn't look like the work of the syndicate. They would be more direct, more aggressive. This feels subtle, calculated, almost like someone is trying to undermine us from within." Ryan's jaw tightened as he considered the implications. The idea that one of their allies, someone they had trusted, might be working against them was unsettling, to say the least. "Do we have any leads? Any idea who might be behind this?" Xenia shook her head, her expression frustrated. "Not yet. Whoever it is, they're covering their tracks well. But I've already started reaching out to our contacts, trying to gather more information. We'll get to the bottom of this." Serafina nodded in agreement, her eyes narrowing in thought. "We need to be careful. If there is a traitor in our midst, we can't afford to tip our hand too early. We need to gather as much information as possible before we make any moves." Ryan's mind raced as he considered their options. The possibility of betrayal was a serious one. If someone within their ranks was working with the syndicate, it could put everything they had worked for at risk. But they couldn't act without proof, and they couldn't afford to let paranoia and suspicion cloud their judgment. "We'll keep this between us for now," Ryan said, his voice firm. "Let's focus on gathering information and identifying the source of these disruptions. Once we know who we're dealing with, we can take the necessary steps to neutralize the threat." Xenia nodded, her expression determined. "I'll keep digging. We'll find out who's behind this, and when we do, they'll regret ever trying to cross us." The next few days were tense as they continued their investigation, each of them working tirelessly to uncover the truth. Xenia spent hours in communication with their allies, subtly probing for information and trying to identify any signs of disloyalty. Serafina delved into the estate's records and communications, looking for patterns or discrepancies that might reveal the traitor's identity. Ryan, meanwhile, focused on tightening the estate's security, ensuring that their defenses were impenetrable and that their plans remained secret. Despite their best efforts, the situation grew more complicated as time went on. The disruptions continued, and the rumors of betrayal became more widespread, fueling tensions within their alliance. Trust, once the foundation of their strength, began to erode as suspicion and fear took hold. Allies who had once been steadfast and loyal now hesitated, their support wavering in the face of uncertainty. It was during this time that Ryan received an unexpected message, a request for a private meeting from one of their closest allies, Lady Maris of the planet Callisto. Lady Maris was a shrewd and influential leader, known for her keen intelligence and her unwavering commitment to her people. She had been one of the first to join their alliance, and her support had been instrumental in their success. But her message was cryptic, hinting at information of great importance but offering no details. Ryan, Serafina, and Xenia discussed the message at length, weighing the risks and benefits of the meeting. In the end, they decided that the potential rewards outweighed the dangers. If Lady Maris had information that could help them identify the traitor, it was worth the risk. The meeting was arranged to take place on a neutral planet, a remote world known for its secluded and secure locations. Ryan, Serafina, and Xenia traveled there in secret, taking only a small, trusted team with them. The journey was tense, filled with unspoken fears and doubts, but they knew that this could be the breakthrough they needed. When they arrived at the designated location, a small, hidden compound nestled in the mountains, they were met by Lady Maris and her guards. Lady Maris was a striking woman, tall and elegant, with sharp features and piercing gray eyes. She greeted them with a respectful nod, but there was a guardedness in her expression that Ryan couldn't quite read. "Thank you for coming," Lady Maris said, her voice low and serious. "I know this meeting was arranged under unusual circumstances, but I believe the information I have is of the utmost importance." Ryan nodded, his expression equally serious. "We appreciate your willingness to meet with us, Lady Maris. What is this information you have?" Lady Maris gestured for them to follow her into the compound, her guards remaining outside to ensure their privacy. Once inside, she led them to a small, dimly lit room where a holoprojector was set up on a central table. She activated the projector, and a series of images and data streams appeared in the air above the table. "I've been conducting my own investigation into the recent disruptions," Lady Maris began, her tone measured. "What I've found is troubling, to say the least." Ryan, Serafina, and Xenia watched as the images and data scrolled across the projector. There were reports of missing supplies, intercepted communications, and troop movements, all pointing to a pattern of activity that suggested a coordinated effort to weaken their alliance from within. But the most damning evidence was a series of encrypted messages, traced back to a high-ranking member of their own alliance. "This is a communications log from one of our most trusted allies," Lady Maris said, her voice filled with a mixture of anger and disbelief. These messages were sent to a known syndicate operative. They discussed troop deployments, supply lines, and even the details of our recent operations. Someone within our own ranks has been feeding the syndicate information, someone we trusted. Ryan's blood ran cold as he realized the implications of what he was seeing. The traitor wasn't just any member of their alliance, it was someone close, someone with access to their most sensitive information. "Who is it?" he asked, his voice tight with barely contained anger. Lady Maris hesitated for a moment, as if steeling herself for what she was about to reveal. The messages were traced back to Lord Trevin of the planet Elysia. He's been working with the syndicate for months, feeding them information and undermining our efforts from within. Xenia's eyes widened in shock and disbelief. Lord Trevin? He's been one of our strongest supporters. Why would he do this? Lady Maris shook her head, her expression filled with bitterness. I don't know his reasons, but the evidence is clear. He's betrayed us, and he's put everything we've worked for at risk. Ryan's mind raced as he tried to process the information. Lord Trevin had been one of their closest allies, a man who had stood by them through thick and thin. The idea that he could be a traitor, working with the syndicate to sabotage their efforts, was almost too much to comprehend. But the evidence was irrefutable, and Ryan knew that they couldn't afford to hesitate. We need to act quickly, Ryan said, his voice filled with determination. We need to confront Lord Trevin and stop him before he can do any more damage. If he's been working with the syndicate, he could be planning something big, something that could cripple our alliance. Serafina nodded, her expression equally resolute. We'll need to approach this carefully. If Lord Trevin realizes we're onto him, he could go to ground or even escalate his plans. We need to gather more evidence, make sure we have an airtight case before we move against him. Lady Maris nodded in agreement. I can help with that. My agents have already been gathering additional intelligence on Lord Trevin's activities. We'll continue our investigation and share everything we find with you. Xenia's eyes narrowed as she considered their next steps. Once we have enough evidence, we'll need to move quickly and decisively. We can't afford to let this drag on. Every moment we wait is another opportunity for Trevin to cause more damage. Ryan, Serafina, and Xenia agreed on a plan. They would return to Viridian and continue their investigation in secret, gathering as much evidence as possible to expose Lord Trevin's betrayal. Once they had everything they needed, they would confront him and bring him to justice. The journey back to Viridian was tense, each of them lost in their thoughts as they considered the gravity of the situation. The discovery of a traitor within their own ranks was a blow that struck at the very heart of their alliance, a betrayal that threatened to unravel everything they had built. But they knew that they couldn't afford to dwell on the pain of the betrayal. They had to focus on stopping Lord Trevin and protecting their people. As soon as they arrived back at the estate, they set to work, each of them taking on a specific task in the investigation. Serafina delved deeper into the estate's records, cross-referencing communications and troop movements with the information provided by Lady Maris. Xenia continued to reach out to their allies, subtly probing for any additional signs of disloyalty or suspicious activity. Ryan coordinated with their security forces, ensuring that they were prepared for any potential fallout from the confrontation with Lord Trevin. The days that followed were filled with tension and uncertainty as they worked tirelessly to piece together the evidence they needed. Every lead, every piece of information was scrutinized and analyzed, and as the picture became clearer, the full extent of Lord Trevin's betrayal was revealed. Not only had he been feeding the syndicate information, but he had also been actively sabotaging their efforts to strengthen their defenses and build alliances. He had redirected supplies meant for their forces, leaked sensitive information about their operations, and even attempted to sow discord among their allies. It was a calculated and systematic effort to weaken them from within, and it had nearly succeeded. With the evidence in hand, Ryan, Serafina, and Xenia knew it was time to act. They could no longer afford to wait. Lord Trevin had to be stopped before he could do any more damage. They arranged a meeting with Lord Trevin, inviting him to the estate under the pretense of discussing their ongoing efforts to strengthen the alliance. It was a dangerous move, but they needed to confront him face to face, to give him the opportunity to explain himself or to reveal his true intentions. The day of the meeting arrived, and the estate was filled with a quiet tension as they prepared for what was to come. Ryan, Serafina, and Xenia waited in the grand hall, their expressions calm but their minds alert and ready for anything. When Lord Trevin arrived, he was greeted with the same respect and courtesy they had always shown him, but there was an undercurrent of tension in the air, a sense that this meeting was different from any they had had before. Lord Trevin was a tall, imposing man with a commanding presence. His dark hair was streaked with gray, and his sharp features gave him an air of authority. He was dressed in the formal attire of his rank, his expression carefully neutral as he approached them. "Thank you for inviting me," Lord Trevin said, his voice smooth and controlled. "I understand that there are important matters to discuss." Ryan nodded, his expression equally controlled. "There are indeed. Please have a seat." Lord Trevin took the offered seat, his eyes flicking between Ryan, Serafina, and Xenia as he tried to gauge their intentions. "What is it that you wish to discuss?" Serafina leaned forward, her gaze steady and unyielding. "We've uncovered some troubling information, Lord Trevin. Information that suggests you've been working with the syndicate, feeding them information, and undermining our efforts from within. Lord Treven's expression remained impassive, but Ryan could see the flicker of surprise in his eyes. "I don't know what you're talking about," he said smoothly. "I've been nothing but loyal to this alliance, to the cause we all share." Zinnia's voice was sharp as she responded. "We have evidence, Treven encrypted messages, intercepted communications, reports of your involvement in sabotaging our operations. Don't try to deny it." For a moment there was silence as Lord Treven weighed his options. Then, slowly, his expression changed. The mask of calm slipped, revealing a cold, calculating look that sent a chill down Ryan's spine. "So you found me out," Treven said, his voice dropping to a dangerous whisper. "I underestimated you." Ryan's jaw tightened as he stared at Treven, the man who had once been their ally, their friend, now revealed as a traitor. "Why, Treven? Why betray us? We trusted you." Treven's expression hardened, his eyes narrowing with a mix of anger and contempt. "You think you understand the complexities of power, of what it takes to survive in this galaxy. You're fools, all of you. The Syndicate is the future strong, ruthless, and willing to do whatever it takes to seize control. They offered me a place in that future, and I took it." Seraphina's voice was filled with cold fury as she responded. "You sold out your own people for power? You betrayed everything we stand for, everything we fought for." Treven's lips curled into a sneer. "You're so naive, Seraphina. Power is the only thing that matters. Alliances, loyalty, they're just illusions, distractions from the real game. The Syndicate understands that, and so do I." Ryan felt a surge of anger, but he forced himself to stay calm, to think clearly. "You've made your choice, Treven, but you won't get away with it. We have the evidence, and we'll make sure that everyone knows what you've done." Treven's eyes gleamed with a cold, dangerous light. "You think you can stop me? You have no idea what you're up against. The Syndicate is already in motion, and you're just pawns in a much larger game.